What's up? This is Casey with another episode of The Show I Don't Have a Name For. Today's t-shirt of the day is a very important one, and it's kind of a repeat, but I don't care. It's my End Epilepsy t-shirt, and I assure you that it is purple. I can't really tell on my computer's camera, but it is a purple t-shirt. Today is February 10th, which is International Epilepsy Awareness Day. I have a mild form of epilepsy, and I have two types of seizures. The first type of seizure, which is my most common one, is what we would call some people would call it a petit mal or a small seizure. I call it a small seizure. Some people call it a focal seizure, where you're just kind of, and you could ask me a question and you could say, "Hey Casey, what's your name? Who's the president? What day it is? What day is it?" And I might not know the answer. And I'll wake up maybe a minute or two or five later, and I might not know what happened the last few minutes. This is my most common one. And then the second seizure is, kind of what everybody, if you know what epilepsy is, the second seizure is the grand mal seizure, the big one, the fall on the ground, biting the tongue, head or the eyeballs rolling back in your head type of seizure. So, for epilepsy awareness, I don't know if we're ever going to be able to end epilepsy. For me, what I do every day, I wake up in the morning and in Korea they're really nice, but I take a packet of pills. I take 3 anticonvulsants. Because I have 2 different seizures, I've got to take a couple different I have to take 3 different anticonvulsants. So I take this in the morning, these pills in the afternoon, and then these 2 packets at night. But that doesn't always work. So if you see somebody having a focal seizure, like what I usually have, where usually what you can just do is just kind of, what I tell people is just be there, okay? I might just be confused. I might not know what's going on. For me, honestly, I get really emotional. I almost always will run away somewhere, and honestly, I'll go to the bathroom and just try to figure out what's going on. I'm confused. It's almost like being really drunk and waking up and just not knowing what's going on. So, if you see somebody have that, just try and keep them calm, try and listen and be wary with them. The second seizure, this is much more serious, but also, again, just try to be calm. If somebody falls down, try to make sure they don't hit their head on something. If they're shaking, try to keep their head from hitting anything. Do not put anything inside of somebody's mouth. If you try to put your phone or a pen or your hand in somebody's mouth, that might break inside of their mouth and they might choke on that. They're not going to choke on their tongue. That's a myth. But if you put a pen or a phone or a wallet in somebody's mouth, they might either break that phone or break that pen, and that might hurt their mouth, or they might bite your finger off. If Hopefully you never see a seizure, but if you've ever seen my tongue after I've had a big seizure, it is disgusting. So please don't do that. Um, Really, with International Seizure Awareness Day, a couple things I guess we've got to do is just, like the day says, make people aware of it. Um, a few years ago, I was working in a bar in Chicago and I hadn't told anybody, and then I had a seizure and I ended up with a gigantic bill for having a seizure at the bar. So I had a big grand mal seizure, hit my face on the bar, and I got a scar here, and I think this scar, and I ended up with a gigantic um, bill from the ambulance, and I got stitches and blah 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 blah. But because I never told anybody about my epilepsy, they said it wasn't work related or anything, so they didn't have to pay for it. And that's just another reason I'm not in America, is because I can't handle their nonsense with health related insurance claims and all that. So tell the people that you know and care about your epilepsy. And it sucks. It really does. Epilepsy has ruined some of my jobs. It has ruined relationships for me. I don't think it's really ruined friendships for me, but it's definitely made my life harder. I've had epilepsy for about 8 years now, and um, I've almost been fired from jobs because they thought I've showed up drunk before. But really, I just had a seizure and I didn't know what was going on. Um, Last month was especially hard for me because I was just really stressed out and really busy. And I just had one big seizure after another. Well, one seizure after another, not big seizures. But I had, I keep, in my day planner, I keep a diary. So January, I had 5 small seizures. And so I would get confused. I'd go back to bed. I'd get confused. I would leave my classroom. I was grading homework during one of my little kid classes. I teach children, and then all of a sudden I woke up and all the little kids were pointing and laughing at me, and I didn't know what the hell was going on. I didn't know where I was, and they were all saying in Korean that Casey teacher had fallen asleep, and I felt terrible. And it took me a few minutes to come back online, and they were kind of, going through my backpack and everything. They were acting like little children, which is how little children are supposed to act. But I felt terrible that I had fallen asleep in class, but really I'd had a seizure, and I just felt awful. And but another thing to do is try your best not to beat yourself up over it. It's not your fault. Um, I'm not the best about that. I definitely am really good about beating myself up. But, you know, like every every guru and self-help book will tell you, you are your own worst enemy. So try to be your best friend. Uh, Having epilepsy sucks. I'll never drive a car. I'll never have a motorcycle and be the cool guy with a motorcycle or a car again. But, you know, I've just got to deal with that. I guess I get to be the guy who's never needs to be a designated driver or parallel park ever again. So, or pay car insurance. So, you know, you have to look at some bright sides. Um, so that's what I have to say about epilepsy. I hope none of you ever have to deal with this. But if you do, or you meet somebody who does, please understand some of these things. We have to take a lot of medicine. A lot of people I know need to take antidepressants or even something to wake them up. Sometimes I take an upper just to wake me up. Caffeine does some bad things for me. Anyway, please just understand there's a lot of stuff that goes on with epilepsy. Not a lot of it is known about it. Not a lot of people study it. Not a lot of money goes through it. It's not as fashionable as a lot of other, things. There was some asshole rapper and his friends who were making videos, and it was just a trend for a while to make pretend that you were having seizures, and it was just, I saw one of them and it was just disgusting. So please don't do that. That's just as classless as you can possibly be. That's like, I can't even begin to do that. Anyway, try to be there for them. Try to make sure nobody hits their head. Try to listen to them and just try to, tell them everything is going to be okay. Honestly, it hasn't been easy, but I'm hoping I'll find some mixture of drugs that will figure it out, and we'll get there. All right, this video has been about 10 minutes too long, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys learned something, and I hope, again, you never have to use any of the stuff I teach, but that's that. And I'm coming out of the epilepsy closet again. I have epilepsy. Not a lot of my students know this. My boss knows this. I don't think any of my coworkers do. Some of my jiu-jitsu buddies in Korea do know, but I don't think very many of them do. So that's that. All right. Have a wonderful night, and have a wonderful Epilepsy Awareness Day. All right. Thanks a lot. Bye. You're the best.